61% of Americans are now trying to break unhealthy habits that they gained during the last 2 years. Now, we might all be thinking when about bad habits, thinking of like nail biting or alcohol use or smoking. Now, we all know these bad habits, but what are some sneaky bad habits that you are doing that might be hurting you? I know I was doing these and they were hurting me. Let's jump into one real doozy here, and that is social media. So grab your tea and let's go. Okay, so 58% of the world is on social media right now. Now, I know you might be like, oh gosh, enough. I'm so tired about hearing people talk about how bad social media is for us. But here's the thing, it kind of is bad for you. The average time spent online is 2.5 hours a day. Really, among all social media users age 15 to 64, around 1/5 reported that the previous 12 months they had lost sleep, gotten less physical activity, or had trouble concentrating on tasks or activities as a result of their social media use. That is quite shocking. Now, around 1 in 8 users reported feeling anxious or depressed, frustrated, angry, or envious of the lives of others from social media. And like, as if we're even seeing the real lives people are showing on social media, it honestly is just, I was finding a real cesspool of not greatness, to, use the technical term. Social media is good though, honestly. Like, it can help us stay connected with people, helps us maintain relationships. I so many times was like, I am getting off of Facebook. I am sick of Facebook. But then when I would do that, then I'd be like, oh, well, my aunts are on it and my grandpa is on it. My dad was on it. And that is what keeps me staying on it. And I think that Facebook probably relies on that for a lot of reasons. Plus, so many groups are on Facebook. I myself have a Facebook group, and a lot of people find it really hard to have groups off of Facebook. It just doesn't work so well. Facebook is designed really well for that. But as we know, Facebook can be pretty bad. How many times have I actually gone to visit my grandparents or someone else, and I've actually just started checking my social media? Like, I've just picked up my phone and started checking my social media. Oh, yeah, I'm listening. How am I justifying that to myself? Talk about rude. I also now like to keep really, really strict boundaries because I was finding it was just too much. For a few years, I was going off of Facebook for Lent, which was wonderful. I would treat it more of a website. Like, if I had to look something up, I would do it, which was fine. But now I find that I will slip if I'm not careful. So what I do is I actually have developed a couple of strategies. So the first thing is you can do the app limits and downtimes. I myself have a limit of really only 15 minutes a day for Facebook. And I really use it just to do a quick check, see if there's something maybe my grandpa or my family have posted. These limits will help keep you in check, and they will remind you, like, of course you can bypass them. There are also some apps that will like seriously limit it, but there is some self-control that has to come into things. I also really like to unfollow people who are negative. You can stay friends with a lot of them, but there are certain people who anytime they posted, I was seeing something negative and it was really bothering me. I also limit myself to all social media for only 30 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening because I really, really don't want all of that extra stuff coming in. And I also try to remind myself that I can't control what comes in if I am on social media. So there was one time, I think it was probably like 8 years ago, and I was lying in bed looking at Facebook, which is so silly, and a video of a child being abused popped up, and I was horrified. And that was like when it was just autoplay, and I was just, oh, I was so upset. And I just remember being like, I was really, really upset by that, as anybody would be. And I just can't justify spending much time on something where I can't control what's coming in. Like, somebody else is deciding what I see. If I share something, basically I'm choosing to put it in front of people if the algorithm allows, and that's not cool. So limiting social media is number one. Now, you might not be surprised that the second thing that I realized needed to change in my life for bad habits was clutter. I had clutter everywhere. Now, the National Organization of Professional Organizers reports that we spend 1 year of our lives looking for lost items. For me, it's probably more like 5 because of my 2 kids and husband with ADHD and my own focus issues. Now, the minutes spent searching for documents, physical or digital, also add up to hours in no time. We honestly need to have a system to keep things organized, and we need to get rid of the stuff that we're not using. Now, I know you're probably like, what about the rest of the stuff? Well, for me personally, I cannot focus in a cluttered environment. It makes me moody, it makes decision making very hard, and it totally raises my stress. And I know that you can relate. Now, our physical environments significantly impact our cognition, emotions, relationships, behavior, and honestly, this is one of the things that I really will shout from the rooftops forever. It's important to have a supportive environment. Environmental design is huge. We talk about food, water, and shelter. This is one of the most important things in your environment, and this is supported by science. Researchers at Princeton Neuroscience use the fMRI to show that it's constant visual clutter that is exhausting and stressing us out. So yes, you may have crammed cupboards and drawers that are bothering you, that are stressing you out, but it's actually the stuff all around you that makes it even worse. It makes it so hard to concentrate, and it really adds to your stress. You may have heard me talk about the term nuts before, and when I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. It stands for nagging unfinished tasks. These are the things you walk by and you're like, oh, I myself have got some seeds out on my dining room table that I have to put away because it's bothering me, and I gotta put it away. Once I remove the extra clutter, seeds in a second, then I really noticed a huge improvement in my life, in my house, in my productivity, in my stress level. It really calmed down, which is so lovely. So did you know that a cluttered home or workspace can actually lead to procrastination, junk food, more social media, and more TV? The clutter makes us tired. It takes away motivation. Most of us want more motivation. We want to feel better. We want to feel like we want to get out and live life. So here is how I declutter. I like to do about 30 minutes at a time. You can do 15, you can do an hour, you can do what works for you. If you're on a roll, go with it. I don't recommend making a day of it because then you may have a negative association with it. But the great thing is when you do those short sessions, you get that dopamine hit, and that really helps you feel like you have accomplished something. It makes you feel good. It makes you associate a positive feeling with it. Donate what you can. If you have to throw some things away, just do it. If they're headed to the garbage, they're going there when you die. So just do it now so you don't have to live with it. Ask yourself, do these things add value to your life? Is it a painting that you love? It's adding value to your life. If it's a shirt that you wear all the time, it's adding value to your life. Is it a shirt that you never wear? It's not adding value to your life. Do you see how easy it is? The other thing is we need to recognize that our work environment needs to be clean too. The third thing that I needed to change was sleep. Now, adults who get insufficient sleep report way more sedentary time than those who get adequate sleep. Chronic stress. Stress goes way up if you don't get enough sleep compared to people who get adequate sleep. There's poor mental health. People who don't get a good amount of sleep have poor mental health compared to those who have a great sleep. I myself have made some big mistakes in the past when it comes to my sleep. I was getting up way too early to work, and I mean, I love it, and I can't blame me because I have kids, I have a husband, and when they're up, it's really hard to concentrate. But if I'm going to get up early in the morning, I need to account for it at night, obviously. The other thing is sometimes we will be watching TV later than we should and then getting up early in the morning, and that is just not good. So here's the thing. We need sleep. We need it really bad. It just helps so much. It helps with our immune system. It helps with our mental function. As I said, many of us are just not getting enough of it. People age 18 to 64 need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And I read a book called Why We Sleep. It's an amazing book. I will link it. It explained just how a lot of people think they only need 6 hours and how for almost everybody, that is a deficit. Like almost everybody. There's a very small percentage of people who actually function well. And if you struggle with issues like stress or poor performance or mental health issues, maybe your sleep needs to be looked at. Here's what I have done to improve my sleep. I avoid alcohol almost all of the time. If I am going to have alcohol, I know I will have a poor sleep because it affects the REM stage of sleep. So if I'm going to have alcohol, it is on a day when I can sleep in the next day, take it easy, and get a great night's sleep the next night. I will never have it 2 nights in a row because of how badly it affects sleep. And that, again, is in that book that I mentioned, which is an incredible book. And there's hard science behind it. Deny it all you want, it's there. Caffeine intake should not be past 12 p.m. This is one area where I'm not perfect. I will have tea up until 4 p.m. The other thing is exercise. I exercise most days because exercise helps us fatigue ourselves. I mean, it's good for every level of the body as long as you're not overdoing it, but it really helps with sleep, which is super important. The other thing is I now try to get up at about the same time every day, and I go to bed at the same time every day. If I am at a stage where I want to be getting up early to work, then I will slowly shift to accommodate that. I will go to bed at like 10, go to sleep, which for me seems incredibly early, and then I will get up at 6. Even when my kids were babies, I remember going to bed at 9 and it felt like torture. So as I get older, I kind of think, I could kind of go for that, but my kids are teenagers, so it's kind of hard. Another thing I do is I meditate during the day, because if I get some meditation in, or even just quiet time, thinking time as I like to call it, where I'm lying in bed, then I will actually just process a lot of the things during the day, which makes it easier for me to fall asleep at night. And I use earplugs because somebody affects my sleep negatively if I don't. Another thing is mindless scrolling, and not social media, a different kind of scrolling. Now, it's hard for me to stay off of my phone, and I am not alone. According to a recent Pew Research Center study, about 28% of adults in the United States go online almost constantly, thanks in part to a large lure of apps. Now, it turns out that our brains are specifically wired to love scrolling. And some people are starting to look at this as an ethical issue. Now, scrolling is funny because it's just harder to leave. How many times have you just picked up your phone and literally just started scrolling? Not even on social media, but you just are scrolling and scrolling and clicking and scrolling. There is no end to many things. Like I have mentioned before about Facebook. Facebook, it used to say this is the end of your feed years ago. It doesn't anymore. There is no end. Netflix and YouTube, there is no end because there is a next video that starts playing. There's autoplay. Everything will do this for a long time, and it is not good. You actually need the end of something for your brain to cue that maybe you should stop. So what is something that I am trying to do? First of all, I will set a timer if I don't have a lot of time to devote to online stuff. And really, I don't want to spend that much time. The other thing is I now do not sleep with my phone next to my bed. I used to look at my phone up until very close to bedtime, and I used to wake up and look at my phone first thing in the morning. I would check my email, I would check the news, I would check the weather, I would check Facebook, I would check all of these things. I would just look up random things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, one of the great things about the internet is we can learn things so easily. Things aren't locked behind encyclopedias anymore, but it's not good. If you check your phone first thing in the morning, it can make you 30% less productive. So I will wait at least 1 hour. And my rule for myself is that I need to create before I consume. So if I am going to look at social media or watch YouTube, I mean, I love YouTube. I love the different things that creators bring, but I need to create something before I consume. Another thing you can do is not to keep your phone next to you. I now will try to keep my phone in a different room or just out of reach. And often some people find that even just having it within eyesight can affect us. Because if I see it there, then I recognize that I may be wanting to check this or check that. And what sucks is like I'll be going out for dinner with friends and I will be having to look at my phone because sometimes, like I have a dinner coming up next week and my kids will be home alone because they're teenagers, but I will need to check in on them. But I need to be mindful to put my phone away after that. And the other thing is if you can't reach it, you can't use it. So put it away. Also, turn off notifications. If your phone is always telling you when something is new, you've got a new email, you've got a new text, you've got a new thing on Slack, that isn't good for you either. So another thing to remember is the less you pick it up, the less you will use it. How many times, honestly, have you picked up your phone to do something else when you've ended up maybe even forgetting what you were going to do in the first place and ended up checking your email and all of that? For me, it's my personal email, my work email, checking Slack. And the thing is, I don't have notifications on, but I need to be careful that I get into that circle of checking things, and it's not good. Yes, sorry, I'm listening. The only thing that I have is texts. I will get notified when there is a text because often it is related to family or friends. And the other thing is you can mute things on text, which is really good too. I'm a casual nurse, so when I am doing my life coaching business, I don't want to be getting notifiers that there are shifts for nursing. So I have those muted so I don't always know that there's shifts, because believe me, there are plenty of shifts a day and I don't need to be notified about all of them. And there are other things where you can mute people, which I think is wonderful. And then there is negativity. Now, believe it or not, as humans, we're actually hardwired for negativity. And I myself found myself getting stuck on the hamster wheel of negativity not too long ago. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You think about negative thoughts a lot. You ruminate on negative memories or thoughts. You remember those times where you did something not so nice and you beat yourself up about it forever. You remember negative events more than the positive ones, and you find negative statements coming out of your mouth more than positive ones. Well, here's the thing. Negativity can have a big effect on our lives though. Relationships can be damaged by negative comments or attitudes. We can also perceive negative statements to be true more likely than positive ones, which may actually not even be the case, but we are hardwired to believe in the negativity. I now try to reframe the situation. Instead of only focusing on the negative, I really try to look at things from all angles and try to find positives too. And I mean, really, ultimately, I am more of a positive person than a lot of people, but I can fall into the negativity. Like, it is a trap, and I would say winter, I am like really prone to it. I also refuse to talk negatively to myself. I am nice to me. I tell myself how nice I am every day. And I also work very hard not to focus on past mistakes. I can remember times where I yelled at my kids and I really, really feel terrible about it, but I can't change that. And really, if you're gonna feel bad about these mistakes, apologize to the person and move on. I also need to be careful about what I'm consuming. I can love me some dark music. I'm a big fan of The Cure. I love Tool, but now I keep those for special occasions. Maybe I'll do like one workout and I'll listen to it, but then I try to turn things around by listening to something positive. I try to keep myself in a positive and uplifted energy and headspace. Now, this is a video about slowing down and removing a whole lot of extra stuff from your life, and I think that you will like it because, let's face it, life has gotten a little bit bananas lately and it needs to slow down. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.